Welcome to the Intuitive Websites Internet Marketing Podcast, bringing you the country's top podcast on the subject of internet marketing, with your hosts Glenn Thayer and the CEO of Intuitive Websites, Thomas Young. Folks, welcome back to another Intuitive Websites Internet Marketing Podcast. I'm Glenn Thayer. Tom is with me again, and you know it's that time of year, beginning of 2012, and we've got 10 website trends that we're expecting to be hot for 2012. So, Tom, what do you say? Let's just jump right in here and let's go down to our top 10 list. And number one on our list is
prepare for the intranets.
And internets. Now, isn't that something that George Bush said is internets when he was having the debate with John Kerry?
That's right. I'll never forget that. It was a classic line where George Bush, instead of saying the internet, said intranets. And I can't help but think now that maybe he was being prophetic in some strange way, because now we really have intranets. We have websites that are almost as big as the internet itself, and those websites include Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, and now the emerging Google+. And so we've got to start thinking about marketing online as not just marketing to the general internet, but marketing through those networks as well, because they're all-inclusive. People can go to Facebook and LinkedIn and get volumes of information just like they could from the internet.
Well, that's like business pages too, right?
Business profile pages now are becoming more and more popular. They're going to be even more critical in 2012, where fewer people will be going to your web page, your business web page, and checking you out more throughout the social media pages. And we're actually going to do a podcast just on business profile pages on the intranets. And so people are going to use these pages more as a resource to solve problems, to get help, and you're going to have the ability to monitor your own stats for these pages, and they are, in a lot of ways, their own separate little intranet. So that's trend number one: prepare for the intranets.
Well, now we've got a big emergence now, especially with mobile devices now. So
yes.
Can we see the number two really pretty much going mobile now?
The mobile web is number two, and this has been a trend for a while, but it's continuing to grow, and we saw a big surge in 2011. We monitor roughly 40 or more websites, and we look at the stats on those sites, and now most of our clients have mobile traffic at over 10% of their overall visitors, and that's amazing. I mean, when it used to be so tiny, it used to be 2 or 3%. You'd see, mobile devices used to pull up websites. Now it's even more. And then when you think about what they're doing on Facebook and LinkedIn, that's even adding more traffic. So our rule of thumb is when your traffic gets to 10% or more visitors coming from mobile devices, you need to have a mobile website. Now, you don't have to do a complete redesign. And if you're using a CMS system, you can easily modify it.
And those of you CMS, WordPress, Drupal,
content management systems, you can easily modify those websites to be seen on mobile devices without recreating your entire site. Now, you can, if you have the budget, recreate a mobile-only website and a regular internet website. But we recommend that at least you have a mobile-optimized website. You don't need the big graphics. You don't need the big rotating images. You do need conversion points. Don't forget that. But you do need to have an easy way for users to get to your content and view it on an iPhone or other mobile device.
Tom, I think I'm feeling another podcast on mobile websites coming for 2012, sometime in 2012.
I think we're going to do one. And in fact, the thing that we have to talk about is not just mobile devices, but it's screen size, which is kind of an interesting way of looking at your website. But it's real important to understand what is the size of the screen that people are using to look at your website. And I think you're going to have screen sizes all the way from the size of an iPhone screen to a 30-inch monitor to even bigger for projectors or TVs or whatever people are using to look at the web. So you've got to start thinking about, how does my website look on literally an unlimited amount of monitor sizes? And in looking at data for our clients, we're starting to see that now, where users are coming in with dozens and dozens of different monitor sizes.
Well, speaking of screen size, I think that leads us into number three.
Right. Number three is the trend around publishing and content, where you're just going to see less and less books and printed magazines. Most content, and this is a huge trend that will continue in 2012, most content will be electronic. It's basically free. The cost is minimal. The thing that will drive the success of any content won't be a publishing house pushing the content, but it'll be the value of the content, the credibility of the author, One of the people that you should follow if you want to know more about this is Seth Godin. He's passionate about publishing and online publishing. But for business owners out there and people that are marketing websites, it's important to know that content on the web is going to be so important that if you're not keeping your content updated, if you have stale content on your website, it will actually have a negative influence on your website. You'll go lower in the search engines and you'll turn off users. So we've got to keep fresh, relevant content going. I also see a big push for magazines on the web. We all know ebooks now are selling more on Amazon than print books. But
now these are for more of the Kindle devices, the Nooks, things like that.
But magazines are still kind of lagging behind there. And it might be that people still like to hold a magazine in their hand. I don't know. But I do see in the future that that magazines and iPads are a great fit, and people are going to be more comfortable doing that. You know,
it's something you mentioned with magazines, and what I've seen a lot of the magazines do is they've gone to this electronic edition where you can actually digitally turn the page. Personally, I have found that trying to read a magazine like that is way too difficult.
Yeah, I think the way to go is to just basically do a flat-out electronic version of the real magazine. Don't do a bunch of hyperlinks. Don't make it a website. It's too complicated. Just take your magazine and let people flip through the pages like they would on a regular magazine.
Or a PDF. Make it into a PDF and make it very simple. I prefer to read a magazine and hold it in my hand.
Absolutely.
So speaking of that, though, we're still talking publishing and content. For number 4, what about Google? Because that's always the big question. What about Google?
Google's still a major player, and trend number 4 is that Google is looking for new, relevant, and volumes of content on websites. So in the early days of SEO, you had to worry about coding your site and targeting keywords and all that, and that's still important. But what Google's going to give more and more precedent to and more validation to is websites that have lots of new, relevant content that's appropriate for the search term. And they're also going to be tying that content into what they're doing with Google+, and the ability to like content on your website, to like what you see on Google+, and all these things being connected together. So one of the things you have to do is you've got to have a blog on your website. You've got to post on a regular basis. You've got to be posting articles and doing newsletters and email newsletters and so forth. That's what's going to drive your relevance in Google, and then connecting it to a Google+ page is even going to be more important.
Now, do you think Google Plus is going to be a major player against Facebook this coming year?
Yeah, we don't know what's going to happen there. We just know that here's what I think is going to happen in 2012. We don't know how popular it's going to get, but we do know that because people feel like they have to do it, it's going to grow like crazy because there's so many companies out there going, we can't ignore Google. We can't ignore Google+. Let's get something up there. And so even with that attitude, before you know it, there's going to be a lot of people on Google+. And because Google is still the most popular search engine in the world, and you're going to start seeing all these funny-looking plus signs on all your search results, that's going to make people want to set up Google+ pages. And we're going to do a podcast on how to do that.
Now, what about another electronic behemoth for number 5 here?
Apple, my favorite company, and I hate to see this, but I'm going to just have to make this prediction that with the loss of Steve Jobs this year, that Apple will start to slip. And it's just going to happen. I mean, for one thing, even if Steve Jobs was still around, Apple is so big that big companies tend to start crashing, and we've seen it over and over again. And it's a Christmas season here. We're actually in December of 2011 when we record this, but I recently went into an Apple store, and the service is just so different than it used to be. People can't help you. They send you to someone else. They send you back to the person that they was just sent to. They don't know answers. They give you misinformation. I was trying to buy a CD drive for a Mac Mini we have here at the office, and the Apple store in Denver said to me, "Well, we only sell the ones for the MacBook Air. It doesn't work with the Mac Mini." Sent me out of the store. Then the store in Colorado Springs, I asked again. He goes, "Oh yeah, they work great with the Mac Mini," and picked one up, and it does. It works fantastic. And there was other issues, but that's when you start to see signs like that from a big company, plus the fact that there's really no awesome breakthrough products coming like what Steve Jobs was driving. You start to see, well, Apple's going to slip, and really the threat is going to come from competitors. either a new version of the Android phone or Google's foray into devices, or maybe even a competitor out of China or something. That's where the threat to Apple will be. And I think you're going to see that lack of leadership is going to be evident in 2012. And that we just had this awesome run for Apple that's going to start to end, and we're going to start to see something new to come out of that. I don't know what it is yet. It might be, some medium devices that are in between laptops and tablets, or tablets that are more sophisticated from a competitor, but I'm predicting that. So watch out for Apple in 2012.
Or maybe just the fact that, just like PCs, you have so many companies that manufacture PCs as opposed to Macs. Maybe we're looking at something that's middle ground, where now the computing world is becoming the same instead of...
It's true.
Instead of having this complete diversity where you have the Apple realm and then you have everything else PC related.
Yeah, I just hope we do continue. In the last 5 years, we've had great devices come out of Apple, and I hope that can continue.
Now, what about for number 6? What about offline success? Because right now, we've talked about for the last 5-6 years here about being online and online and online. Well, there's a lot of companies that are out there that are extremely successful that are offline. What can we expect from them for 2012?
Yes, number 6 is that offline success is going to continue to drive online growth, and so not only are these big companies that have great offline brands not only going to get better at web marketing, they're going to do more of it. And they have a great head start on everybody else because they're so well known. So there's going to be more of that convergence of a great offline brand moving onto the internet, doing it better, and overtaking sites that don't have an offline brand, because it's just going to be tougher to compete if you're not known on and off the internet.
Well, what about let's think, coming 2012, especially in the United States here, it's an election year.
Yes.
And as we know that for looking at for a trend, I can honestly say that number 7, our trend for number 7 is the election process is going to be online. And I know you have some ideas about this.
It's going to be a wild election process. It's going to be the internet was important 4 years ago when Obama won. It's going to even be more important now, and I think that Obama is going to easily be reelected because of his power and his use of online marketing and online support that he receives. But I think it's going to do a few things. It's going to be influential at all levels of elections, not just a presidential election. I think that it's going to be huge for fundraising. We're going to see more money through online collections in 2012 than ever. And it's going to also give more fundraising power to ordinary voters or people. And I hope at some point that can become the trend of putting elections back into the hands of people and their ability to give donations to their favorite candidate as opposed to corporations. But the 2012 election is going to be won on the internet, and the internet's going to also polarize people as well around the election process, because people are going to migrate to information on the internet that they already believe in, and they're going to use that information to support their cause. But the bottom line is that folks that are more web savvy and more into getting information on the internet will ultimately drive the results of the election. I think that those folks tend to support Obama in greater numbers. So,
well, what I really hope as far as the election process is that people can be connected to facts. The big challenge with elections is elections have been won traditionally in the United States have been won by media buys. And have been, whether it's conservative media, liberal media, it doesn't matter. They're biased completely. And then the media buys that you have for the advertisements, for the negative advertisements. What online will allow voters to do is go get that information, get the correct information about their candidates, and be able to read the platforms and be better informed.
That's a really good point, because the undecided voter usually is the one that decides the election. And hopefully they're the ones that will do the fact-checking. The polarized voters, they're going to see the ads and go, yeah, I agree with that ad, absolutely. And then whatever they read online will support their viewpoint. But that undecided voter needs to check their facts, and the web can do that for them, absolutely.
Exactly. Well, let's move on to the next piece.
Number 8, yes.
Website knowledge.
Website knowledge is going to explode in 2012. So, the internet, when it first became popular, there was a very small group of people that understood what was going on. And every year that group grows just a little bit. Well, now I think that 2012, it's really time for terms like Google Analytics and conversion rates and bounce rates and all these web terms, they should become marketing mainstream terms. And I think that you're going to see that more and more. I mean, we still work with clients this year that they ask us, what is a bounce rate? And I think in 2012, we're going to hear less of that as opposed to this question, which is how do we improve our bounce rate? What can we do to improve our bounce rate? And so I think that's a good thing for web marketing. And I really encourage people that listen to these podcasts to learn web marketing terms, what they mean, and learn the lingo and understand all the fundamentals, make integrated into what you do on the offline marketing side as well.
It's something else that comes into this. I mean, if you throw Facebook into the mix, people who traditionally come from the website marketing end are not as integrated into Facebook and the social media platforms.
That's right.
And what's happening now is you have this explosion of entrepreneurs that are on Facebook and that have been on MySpace previously and are utilizing LinkedIn, and they're utilizing these social media platforms where traditionally they have no experience in content management systems or analytics, and they haven't paid any attention to that. And I think we have this convergence now of the two blending together, especially with WordPress becoming the predominant content management system on the web,
which used to be a blog system. Yeah, absolutely.
Which comes to the next thing for number 9 is integrated media and the death of Flash.
Yes,
because we mentioned mobile devices, and as we know, Apple mobile devices, the iPads, iPhones, do not play Flash, and so you have to be on the Android platform to really get the benefits of Flash.
Right. I think that Flash is definitely going to go away. It's already being used less and less, and I think that user preferences are going to drive the fact that they don't want to deal with Flash. They don't want to upgrade their player and so forth. But the other part of integrated media here is that users all have their preferences, and we just do. Some people want video, some want audio, some want content, some want photos, some want to see a slideshow, some want to see graphic representations of your message. All of these things need to be part of your web marketing throughout, not just your website, but your social media. And I think that it's going to drive tremendous job growth. I mean, I know that you hear this on the news every single day about the job situation. We need jobs. Well, people should really go out and learn how to drive this kind of media. It's in great demand right now, whether it be graphic design, video production, photography. Web media jobs are going to be a huge demand for 2012. And also the use of HTML5 and other technologies that will take the place of Flash, that will allow video to play and allow movement on a website to help communicate a message. I think we're going to see more universal formats emerge in 2012 that Apple likes and the CMS systems like, and they're pretty much used throughout the web, and and you don't have to worry about downloads for your computer and that sort of thing. So Adobe will have to stick to something else, but I think Flash is going to go away.
How many people are utilizing HTML5 right now?
I don't know the answer to that question. We basically the use of HTML5 is going to be for integrating some of this media stuff into your standard CMS website. So I just think it's going to grow more and more as people get away from Flash, but they still want to see video, or they still want to see a graphic slideshow. And that kind of thing. And I think HTML5 still has to gain some wider acceptance. I'd like to see more plugins and more versatility with it into the CMS systems that we build websites in.
And number 10, Tom, for 2012, what is it? What is your prediction?
Yeah, number 10, website development will speed up and budgets will fall. So basically, you'll be able to build websites cheaper and faster. And there's several reasons why this can happen. And I'm not saying that website developers can't still be profitable and make a good living. The reason that they can charge less is because it takes less time. So the reason this happens is because CMS systems, the content management systems, Joomla, WordPress, Drupal, their use of standard templates and standard coding allow developers to put together websites very quickly. And then the things that will slow down the development process will be getting content, getting photography, getting video, and that sort of thing. Also, the use of modules and plugins will allow developers to make websites very robust very quickly. So if you have to have a search engine on your website to, say, search real estate properties or something, you can find a plugin for that. And instead of hand coding it, you can get the plugin in, modify it, get your graphics in place, and it's done faster and cheaper. Now, the thing that's not going away, though, is good design, good graphic design, good usability, and that sort of thing. That's still going to be an important part of what happens with website developments and budgets.
So just so when we're talking about it, is definitely the websites will be able to be put up quicker for cheaper, but it doesn't necessarily mean that websites are going to be better. Unless they have the fundamentals.
They need the fundamentals too. But if you understand the strategy and you have the strategy in place before you build your website, then that website process can go quick. Just a few years ago, in fact, we still hear stories of clients that it takes a year to get their website done, or it takes 6 months to get their website done. That's going away, and I think that WordPress is going to lead the way for website development. I think Magento is a big, strong up-and-comer for e-commerce platforms. And I also think that, once again, this is going to drive job growth in 2012. So many people need a basic WordPress website put together that if you're looking for a job skill, it's very important. Learn that. Learn the CMS system. Learn WordPress. Learn Magento, and get really good at it, and that's going to drive job growth in 2012.
Well, folks, we're kind of at the closing end of this podcast here, Tom. So what are the key action items that our listeners need to pay attention to?
Well, I think number one is when you think about 2012, be ready for these trends so they're not a surprise when they start to happen, and you're prepared and you're trained for them. And in fact, set a resolution for the new year to include training education in web marketing as part of what you're doing or what your team is doing on the internet. Learn more about CMS systems. We mentioned, as I said, WordPress, Joomla, Drupal, and Magento. And realize, not all these things may happen in 2012, but regardless, these are the trends, and we think you need to be ready for them.
Well, folks, thanks so much for joining us again for another Intuitive Websites Internet Marketing Podcast. Happy New Year, and we look forward to having you join us with all of our future podcasts.
This has been an Intuitive Websites Internet Marketing Podcast. For more information and to see all the available podcasts and much more, visit intuitiveblog.com. If you have a website you'd like us to review or an issue you would like to see covered in future podcasts, email us at info@intuitivewebsites.com.